welcome followers to the Word, the Faith podcast. This podcast focuses on Bible study. It also focuses on our life experiences in church as an organization. It also gets into news stories, popular opinion about the church as an organization. This is the third episode of my reading of the book of Genesis. This series is called In the Beginning, and we will be reading the whole book of Genesis from the beginning to the end. Again, it's called In the Beginning, and we focus on the book of Genesis from the beginning of creation. I want you guys to check out my other series. It's called Life in the Cult. I was in a cult for many years, and I'll give my experiences in that cult. Maybe someone out there is listening may not realize that they're in a cult, but there are red flags that you need to notice when it comes to being in a cult. Things like love bombing, things like emotional manipulation, things like singling you out and having you shun your family. You have some huge red flags that you need to recognize when being in a cult, and that's what that series gets into. Right now we're gonna go into Genesis again. This is the third episode. This is Genesis 10. If you want to start from the beginning, then you go on my other episodes. I do start from Genesis 1. So we're just going to get right into it because I'm already 6 minutes in and I ain't even really talk about nothing, right? All right. So it says, now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and unto them were sons born after the flood. The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Medea, and Jovan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Tyrus. Look, I know I'm not saying these words right. I know that. That's okay. You read along. The point of this is reading along. You may not get a chance to read along at church, but you get a chance to read along now, okay? It says, and the son of Gomer, Ashkenaz, and Rephath, and Togarmah, and the sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Cacum, and Dodanium. By these were the isles of the Gentiles, divided in their lands, every one after his tongue. Your tongue mean your language, y'all, if you don't know. Everyone after his tongue, after their families and their nations. And the sons of Ham, Cush, Mizraim, and Phut, and Canaan. Now, we know Canaan and Ham and Cush is in Africa, right? I'm assuming the other two are actually African, or the African nations. And the sons of Cush, Shuba, Havilah, and Sabtha, and Ramah, and Sabtika. And the sons of Ramah, Sheba, and Dandan. And Cush begot Nimrod. Now, not everyone, but a lot of you guys know who Nimrod is. We know about the paganism. If you don't, Google it. And Cush begot Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. Wherefore it is said, even as Nimrod the mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, in the land of Shinar. Out of that land went forth Ashur, and builded Nineveh, and the city Rehoboth, and Calah, and Resen between Nineveh and Calah. The same is a great city. And Mizraim is Egypt too. Google it. If you don't know, just Google it, right? It wasn't always called Egypt. It was called Mizraim. And Mizraim begat, this is a name, but Egypt was called Mizraim, I think. And Mizraim begat Ludim, and Anamim, and Lahabim, and Naphtuhim, and Pathrusim. These are some names. Y'all talk about these black people names now. These are some names, child. And I could see people with these names nowadays. As soon as you get to a job, they won't hire you just because of your name. Pathrusium and Casluhim, out of whom came Palisium and Caph Fortium, I know I'm messing y'all names up. And Canaan begot Sidon, his firstborn, and Heath, and Jebusite, and the Amorite, the Girgasite, and the Hivite, and the Archite, and the Sinite. This should be a rap. And the Arvadite, and the Simarite, and the Hemotite, and afterward were the families of the Canaanites spread abroad. Y'all see the pattern? And the border of the Canaanites was from Sidon, as thou comest to Gerar unto Gaza, as thou goest unto Sodom and Gomorrah, and Admah and Zeboim, even unto Lasha. These are the sons of Ham, after their families, after their tongues, in their countries and in their nations. Unto Shem also, the father of all children of Eber, and the brother of Japheth, the elder, even to him were children born. The children of Shem, Elam, and Ashar, and Aphaxad, and Lud, and Aram, and the children of Aram, Uz, and Hul, and Gethas, and Mash. And Arphaxad begot Salah, and Salah begot Ebar, and unto Ebar were born two sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was the earth divided, and his brothers' names was Joktan. And Joktan begot Alamadad, and Sheleph, and Hazarmaveth, and Jerah, and Hadaram, and Uzal, and Dikla, and Obel, and Abimael, and Sheba, and Ophir, and Halvalah, and Jabab. All these were the sons of Joktan, and their dwellings was from Mesha, as thou goest unto Sephar, a mount of the east. These are the sons of Shem, after their families, after their tongues, and their lands, after their nations. These are the families of the sons of Noah, after their generations, in their nations, and by these were the nations divided in the earth after the flood. Chapter 11. And the whole earth was one language and of one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain, in a plain like the land, right? So it's Plain, plain, which is like a land, in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said one to another, Go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and slime had they for mortar. I don't know, maybe slime is like a clay mixture. And they said, Go to, let us build us a city and a tower, whose top may reach unto heaven, and let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower, which the children of men builded. And the Lord said, Behold, the people is one, and they have all one language, and this they begun to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. So these people imagined something and they were doing it, right? Go to, let us go down and there confound their language. So they separated the languages. So this is the beginning of when the languages were separated and we began not to understand each other. Every group had their own language from this point forward, that they may not understand one another's speech. So the Lord scattered them abroad from thence unto the face of the earth, and they left off to build the city. Therefore is the name of it called Babel. Babel, you know there's an app called Babel, and it's a language thing. There's a reason why they call that app Babel. Because the Lord did there confound the language of all the earth. And from thence did the Lord scatter them abroad unto the face of all the earth. These are the generations of Shem. Shem was 100 years old and begat Aphax 2 years after the flood. So after the flood, everyone spoke the same language. And Shem lived after he begat Aphaxad 500 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Aphax lived 530 years, and begat Salah. And Aphaxad lived after he begat Salah 403 years, and begot sons and daughters. And Salah lived 30 years, and begot Ebar. And Salah lived after he begat Ebar 403 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Ebar lived 430 years, and begat Peleg. And Ebar lived after he begat Peleg 430 years, and begat sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years, and begat Ru. So if you notice, these people are having children earlier, back in the earlier readings of Genesis, they were well into their hundreds when they had their first child, right? It says, and Peleg lived 30 years and begot Reu. And Peleg lived after he begat Reu 209 years and begot sons and daughters. And Reu lived 230 years and begot Serug. And Reu lived after he begot Serug 207 years and begot sons and daughters. And Serug lived 30 years and begot Nahor. And it's about to end, y'all, because this thing ends in I'm gonna only get through this at it ends at 15.